Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about my goals for 2025, and I think kind of my overarching theme for the year is going to be less ambitious, but also to do a better job of being mindful about what's on my shelves, read down my TBR, and hopefully repair my relationship with book buying and book reading. So I have gotten quite bad about buying a lot of books over the last several years, and I also, I think, relation to that, have started to get very ambitious with my TBRs. I'm constantly trying to read more and come up with these elaborate reading plans that I want to achieve, and I frequently fall short of the mark. I realize that those kinds of lists, that kind of structure is not working for me, and I am just kind of overwhelming myself. But I still want to be able to read, I still want to be able to create content because I'm really enjoying doing both of those things. So I think that being a little bit less ambitious, being a little more chill with what I'm trying to do, and being more mindful about what's coming into my library and making sure that I'm reading what's already here is going to help with a lot of that. So to that end, I've kind of created a few categories of goals that I want to talk through. The first one's just in regards to what I'm reading, the things that I want to try and get to in 2025. The next set of things is content related, some small changes I want to make to my content. One new vlog series I want to start, which we'll get to, but other than that, mostly just like minor changes. Next up is reducing my TBR overall, and then lastly, I'll talk about a couple of channel goals that I have. So in that first category, my first goal is really just to read 36 books for 2025. This is the number I always set to my reading goal to because it's very achievable for me, and I find it more motivating to like surpass my goal and keep going and see how far I can get than to have a really high goal and then constantly have the pressure of like, oh, you're X books behind, you're this many books behind every time I log in to look at my Goodreads to like update something. So I'm going to be setting it as 36 again for 2025, and that has been working really well for me for the last several years. I do want to make a few changes to like what specifically I'm trying to read, so I'm not going to be making as many lists as I have in the previous years. I know previously I've had a priority TBR, I've had like specific project lists, I've had our fantasy bingo list, which I have never once completed in the 2 times that I've done it, although currently still ongoing. I could still do this year's bingo. It's probably not going to happen, but that's one of the many lists I've had. I'm trying to think of the other one. I've also done a self-destructing books list, and of all of those, the only one that's ever worked for me is that self-destructing books list. So I am going to make that list again for 2025. I'm currently planning what books are going to be on it because that's the only one that I've actually seen forward progress with and really helps me to reevaluate the things that were on my shelf and decide, do I really want to read this or to prioritize them and get to them sooner. So that one will be returning. Most of the other lists will be disappearing. The only other list I want to try and make is that I want to try and finish some series in 2025, but I'm making a much more scaled down list this year than I have in previous years because my goal is just to finish a few things that I've started and loved and hopefully build momentum to finish more series because I only have one at this point that I've actually been actively keeping up with, and I've really enjoyed that experience, so I want to be able to do that more, and I think I just need a little more motivation to do it. I'm hopeful that having a kind of more condensed series list will help me get that kind of motivation and momentum going. The last thing I do want to try and do is not going to be a specific list, but I want to make a concerted effort in 2025 to read at least one nonfiction book a year, because that's one of the sections on my shelves that has grown a lot in 2024, but I haven't actually been reading that many nonfiction. I've been really reticent to pick them up, even though they're all things that I'm really interested in, so I want to make sure I'm getting to those in a timely manner, so I'm going to try and read just one a month. This was kind of inspired by Jan Agaton. I know that's her challenge that she's been doing in 2024, and I just thought it was such a great idea, and knowing that I've been buying a lot of nonfiction, partially on her recommendations, partially on the recommendations of Michael Kist. He has a lot of great videos on like history nonfiction. I've been picking up a lot of other things I wouldn't have normally, and I want to make sure that I'm actually getting to them. Also, I will link both of their channels in the description down below. So those are all of my kind of what I'm reading goals. The next set of goals, it's just 2 of them are kind of content related. The first one is just something I want to introduce on my channel. It's something that I talk about a lot with my best friend. This is a way that she and I talk about books when we're discussing them, and it's that we have what we call the crunchy chewy scale. Essentially, the idea is that some books are crunchy, like potato chips. They're light, they're delicious, they're probably not very good for you, but they're a hell of a lot of fun, and there's definitely a time and a place for a crunchy book. On the other end of the scale, you have your chewy books. These are like a nice steak. You have to chew on them for a while to really get the most out of them, but they tend to take a lot longer. They take a lot more effort to read. And again, there is a time and a place for those. I would say most books kind of fall somewhere in the middle, but we talk a lot about like where does something fall in the crunchy chewy scale. And I want to introduce that as a thing on my channel for my wrap-ups. So I'm trying to put together some sort of graphic for this so that I can display as I'm talking about books where I think they sit on that scale. Because I like that personally as a metric of like, what am I in the mood for? Do I want something crunchy, light, quick, easy, something that's going to let me like turn my brain off? Or do I want something chewy? Am I in the mood to read something that I'm really going to have to think about and digest for a while? So I want to try and introduce that. I'm really excited about it, and I'm hopeful that y'all will find it helpful too. The other one is that I want to create a vlog series called Shelf Control, which I'm delighted with myself for coming up with that. It's kind of like pest control, it's kind of like self-control, but the general gist of it is going to be reading things off of my TBR shelves and hopefully reading down as much of this as I can. What I'm hoping to do is find for each episode a different way to randomly select a book off of my shelves to read, and do that for like 3 to 5 books per episode. I want it to be maybe every month or every other month, probably more likely every other month, just to give myself adequate time to finish the books I pick, especially if I pick something chunky. But I want to do this because I'm hoping it'll help me prioritize things that have been kind of sitting on my shelves languishing, things that I've forgotten I actually have, rather than just always reading the things that are kind of top of my TBR. So that's kind of my goal with that, and I'm really hopeful it's going to help me prioritize some more of these, because I have a ton of books I'm really excited to get to, but there's also plenty on here that I've forgotten that I own, and I'm hopeful that this will help me remember that those exist and get to them too. Shelf control is actually a great segue into my next section, which is reducing my TBR, because that is content related, but it's also related to my goal to reduce my TBR. I really just don't have a specific number I want to reach. I just want to read as many of these as I can, partially because I know I'm going to be moving sometime in the next year. I say that a lot in videos. I realize that we don't have a specific date set, but we're currently keeping an eye out for when a unit comes open in the complex we're looking at. So it's just kind of it's going to happen whenever they have something open that we can afford. So at some point I will be moving, and I want to be able to not carry all of these with me if possible. I will take them if I have to, but if I could read down a chunk of these before that happens, that would be great. So that's a lot of the motive behind reducing my TBR. The other part of it is just that this is an overwhelming number of unread books to have. I recognize it is unreasonable, and it definitely comes from a bit of that consumerist urge that I think is very much a part of BookTube and kind of the book community online. There's so much content around hauling books and buying books, and it's really easy to get caught up in that. It's really exciting to get new book recommendations and to go buy them and have them so you can read them. But I have definitely had a habit as a younger person of buying a lot of books at once, because when I was a kid I would stock up once a year at the Friends of the Library book sale in my town, which was this really big event every year, and I would get like a ton of books and I'd read them throughout the year, and then I'd also use my library a lot. But it's just kind of, I think, being on BookTube, being in the online bookish spaces has been exacerbated, and now I have adult money and I need to be responsible with my adult money. So that's the other half of it, is I really just want to kind of fix my relationship with book buying. I love to buy books, but I need to do it in a more healthy, reasonable way. Now that I've gotten that little ramble off my chest, the 2 big goals that I have here that I'm hoping will help are, first of all, just establishing a reading habit. I'm trying to get up earlier in the day to hopefully do some reading in the morning. I'd also like to have some reading time in the evening. I feel like I sleep better when I do that, but I want to try and establish a more regular reading habit, set aside specific times that I'm going to read, because I had that when I was a kid and I haven't really had that in the last several years. My reading is very sporadic, but I really want to have a reading habit because, one, I think it'll help me just in general be more consistent with my reading if I am setting aside specific time to do it. I also think that it's healthier for me. I need to be looking at screens a little bit less, and I'm hopeful it will help me with just kind of general like anxiety, how well I'm sleeping, all of those things, because I know that I look at screens way too much. I like work on a computer all day. I then often game in my off time. I doom scroll at night. So I'm trying to kind of fix my relationship with screens as well, and I'm hopeful that reading more consistently at specific times will help me do that. My other plan for reducing my TBR was inspired by Leanne from Literary Diversions. She has this wonderful bingo board from hell that she's been doing the last several years, and that's like incredible. I am so impressed at her ability to think up that challenge and to really like go for it every year. I am so intimidated by that, but it's so fun to watch her videos on it. And this year she's just announced recently her 2025 bingo board from hell, and she is carrying over a prompt that I think is really cool where she has to read like a certain percentage of the books that she buys in a specific year. So I think for this year it's 60%. It was also 60% for 2024, and I think that that feels like a very reasonable number to aim for. I think her first year that she did it was 80%. She's talked about how that was just completely unreasonable and stressful. But I feel like 60% is a really reasonable number because it's like just over half, and I am wanting to borrow that. I'm going to carry it over for myself and also try to read 60% of the books that I buy in a year. I'm really hoping that's going to help me be more mindful when I am buying books. Like if I'm at the bookstore, if I'm ordering online, I want to be more thoughtful about, am I going to read this book right when it comes into my house, or is this going to be something that kind of languishes? Do I have a current plan for it? Do I have the time to pick it up right now? I want to be thinking about those things more frequently while I'm buying books. That's again part of my kind of fixing my relationship with the act of book buying, and I'm hoping that will help me reduce my TBR faster because I won't be adding in more things as quickly. So I'm really hopeful that will work for me, and again, I'm going to link Leanne's channel down in the description below. Her bingo board from hell is awesome. All of her videos are awesome. Actually, all three of the creators I mentioned so far, they're all incredible. They're some of my favorites. Definitely go check them out if you haven't already. But those are the people who kind of inspired me as I've been putting together my goal list for the year. Hey, so this is going to be a quick addendum to my 2025 goals because it's not specifically book or booktube related, but it is something I want to do with my channel, which is that I want to make a series about scarves. It's going to be a video series showcasing some scarves that I'm planning to make in 2025. This kind of came about because I'm currently working on this one behind me. This is a pink and blue houndstooth scarf that I'm gifting to my mom, and I have been just really enjoying this. I'm enjoying making a scarf in part because it's a little narrower than the other stuff I've been making lately, so it works up a little bit faster, and I'm just having a great time working on it. It's been fun, and I was thinking about it and thought that like scarves might be a great way for me to expand my weaving skills, which is something I really want to do in 2025. I want to try some new techniques, play around with some new designs, and just really get more into weaving. I'm finding it's a lot easier on my wrists than knitting is, and I've just been having a lot of fun with it, so I want to do more of it next year, and I thought doing a video series would be really fun. And it's partially inspired by the Make 9 idea that I've seen floating around, I think particularly on Instagram, but also a little bit on YouTube and TikTok amongst like textile creators, and I'm just interested in that. The idea being that you plan 9 really like intentional projects to build your skills and showcase what you're capable of, and I'm really intrigued by that concept. So I want to make, sorry, my email is going off in the background. I want to make 9 scarves in 2025 to just play around with some different things, play with color, play with texture, learn some new skills. And I'm also planning to make them inspired by VTuber models. So for those who haven't seen this information pop up yet, my partner is a VTuber in his spare time, and he plays a lot of like platformers and Pokemon and JRPGs, and he has a great time doing it. He's been doing it for about a year now. He just hit his 1-year anniversary like earlier this month, and he's having a great time, and he's developed this really lovely community of people that he has become friends with. He's gotten to know them really well over the last year, and they're just so nice, and I wanted to make some scarves inspired by their models and send them to them, and I've already gotten permission from several people to do so. I've been in contact with them asking if they're okay with me doing that. I will be double checking with them before I make any videos on those, that they're okay with me making that and promoting it probably on Blue Sky, because I am active over on Blue Sky now because Twitter is a hellhole. So yeah, that is kind of the plan. I have some people lined up already that were interested, and I've already started asking them what colors they want, letting them know. It's probably going to take me a while because some of them I don't have the colors I need yet, but I will be acquiring those as I can find them. And then there's a couple of people I do actually already have what I need to make their scarves. So everything is kind of in the planning stages, but this is just an additional thing I wanted to try out for 2025, and I thought it would be fun to do it as a theme. And I didn't want to have just like a giant pile of scarves sitting around, if that makes sense. Like if I make 9 scarves for myself, I'm not going to wear 9 scarves. And I could make 9 scarves for my mom, but she's also already getting a lot of scarves from me. So I thought it'd be fun to reach out, send them to some other people, and send those scarves out into the world to be enjoyed. So that's what we're going to be doing, hopefully. Again, I'm going to check with some people and make sure they're okay with me doing this, with their particular like model color schemes and everything. But yeah, that's the plan. I'm looking forward to it, and we'll back to our regularly scheduled programming, I guess. These are all my reading-based goals, and I just have 2 channel goals going forward. The first one is I just want to stay consistent. I've been pretty good through 2024 about posting on Tuesdays and Saturdays. I've occasionally missed things if life has gotten hectic or things have come up, but for the most part I've been pretty good about it, and I think that I'm feeling a lot better about my content creation as a result of having that consistency. So I really want to be able to continue that. And then my other goal is I think it'd be really cool to hit 300 subscribers for the year, but that's going to be a matter of if I am still making good content, I guess. I hit my goal for 2024 way faster than I was anticipating. I think my goal for 2024 was 200 subscribers, and I hit that while I was on spring break from my master's program. So that was like March-ish, I think, which totally blindsided me. I did not think I would hit it that early, but I did, and I think as of my current filming, I'm a little past 250, so I feel like 300 is a reasonable number, and honestly, I'm just having so much fun making videos, and it's exciting to know that other people are enjoying them. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm having a good time, and I'm planning to continue making videos as long as I continue having a good time doing it, which so far so good, you know? So I guess I want to end all of this just by saying thank you so much for watching. Thank you if you have subscribed for being here, and thank you just for watching in general. I really appreciate each and every person who watches my videos, everyone who comments. I love interacting with people, and I guess the last goal that I didn't really write down but is kind of in the back of my mind is I really want to try to build more relationships in the bookish community this year. That's something I've never been very good at, but there's so many people who are really wonderful at it, who do these awesome book clubs, and they do collabs all the time, and they're friends with a bunch of other booktubers, and I just think that's so neat, and I've never been good at building relationships online, so that's something else I really want to try and strengthen for myself, and I'm hopeful that maybe I can get the confidence to do that more in 2025, but I think part of it is just that, like, I'm sitting in my little corner of the internet, and, you know, people are scary is kind of where I'm at. I do think that I love people, but people are also scary. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at going into 2025. I really appreciate all of you, and I hope you all have a wonderful year. And with that said, that's all I have for you today. So I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, I hope you'll consider liking, maybe even subscribing to see what comes next. Currently posting on Tuesdays and Saturdays, hopefully continuing to do so going forward, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.